What I've got coming up is what I would call Touring Car Magazine's Ultimate Touring Car Weekend, which is going to feature British touring cars. It's going to feature TCR UK. It's going to feature historic touring cars and super tourers. It's 2 days, Saturday at Thruxton, Sunday at Silverstone. So I'm going to preview a bit some of what's going on in those worlds at the moment in terms of touring cars. Okay, so British touring cars are heading to Silverstone this weekend, which is really interesting because hybrid. Now, if you remember all the way back to 2021, all those eons ago, the first hybrid Btcc race was actually Andrew Jordan in a Toyota, if you remember rightly, which I'm sure a lot of you will, at the Silverstone round in 2021. With Speedworks, there was an extra car entered, this one, with Andrew racing it, and there were certain rules of engagement where he wasn't allowed to interfere with other cars. And it was essentially a dry run through for the 2022 season. So there is a relevance there, and there's a relevance somewhere else, because at the beginning of 2022, when there was a big test with most of the teams at Croft, I remember talking to a number of drivers, in particular Dan Lloyd and Ash Sutton. They both said they didn't think the hybrid would make that much of a difference apart from at Silverstone. And it did a little bit, because it wasn't as noticeable. Obviously, if you're a touring car fan, a lot of people consider 2022 at times to be a little bit boring because of the hybrid. Obviously, nowadays it's different because it's had nearly 3 years of running and it's pumping it up. But after 2022, obviously there was a bit of a jack-up for last year, and it was the same again last year in pre-season testing. And I spoke to a couple of drivers. And one of the things that came up was, yes, it's going to be effective in certain places a bit, but it'll be more effective at Silverstone. And if you remember last year at Silverstone, race 2, after a wet race 1 had flung them at the bottom of the grid, Tom Ingram was 22nd on the grid, Ash Sutton was 23rd, and they came through for Ash to win and Ingram to finish 3rd. And that was, as they said, that was hybrid. It was the first time this season, apart from the opening round, that they'd had full hybrid. And it just shows you how powerful it could be. It was some pretty damn exciting racing. But some of the same people have said the same thing about this year. The hybrid's been quite effective at most of the tracks this season, but it should be more effective at Silverstone. One of the things that's come into it is qualifying, because if you remember, not the last round, but the round before, Knockhill, where there's like a 50-second lap. It's a similar lap time around Silverstone. There's going to be similar hybrid deployment rules, and it's more of a flat-out track, so some of the people involved in the sport reckon that you will get more of a topsy-turvy grip. Well, not topsy-turvy, but as we saw at Knockhill, Tingram didn't get out of Q1. I think Ash qualified 12th, Jake qualified 7th, and Colin qualified on pole, didn't he? Yes, on pole. But it might have more of a hit on those guys for qualifying in race 1 this weekend, so that's something to look out for. It's not all about the hybrid this weekend. We've got 2 rounds left, 6 races. So we're getting really into the meaty end of the championship. Now, I'm not going to predict a champion. I wouldn't even predict a champion before Brands Hatch. The Btcc wanted to create an environment where we're going to go into a season finale that's a lot more tighter than somebody being able to pick up a win the title in the first race of the last round, like Sutton did last time round. They've created that perfectly. And what we're at the moment, realistically, I think it is safe to say 3 drivers in the prime seats, which is Ingram, Hill, Sutton, and 3 that need 6 good races, and for those guys to make a bit of a mess, and that's obviously Turkman and Camish and Cook. And Cook's the interesting one, I think, this weekend, because he's in a Toyota. If you remember when the Toyota Corolla was introduced in 2019, Speedworks were a 1-car team with Tom Ingram. He won 4 races that season, if I'm wrong, correct us. 2 of them were at Silverstone, race 1 and race 2. So the car looked good at Silverstone first time out. 2020 in the COVID season, the lockdown season, he got a second place finish. And obviously then he moved off to accelerating Hyundai. But in comes Rory Butcher. And in 2022, he wins 2021, he wins 2 races in the Toyota. In 2022, he wins another race in a Toyota. Last year wasn't so good, so have things changed? But with the improved Toyota, it does make you wonder, is this a car that's suited this track? And if so, it could launch right back into the championship. Huff and Moffat could be looking for more wins. And Huffy, as he said earlier to me this season, Donington and Silverstone, even the Shorten one of the tracks that he still recalls really well from historic racing. So he's confident at them 2 tracks. He's confident going into Silverstone. But the one I would love to see is Andrew Watson. Obviously, it's not been a brilliant season from so far, but this could rescue it. I spoke to him after the 3 races at Donington, which included the lift-off, and I asked him how his day went to 3 races, and I think the words was either shit and crap, or crap and shit. Can't quite remember. Was it shit crap, I think it was. The BMWs have been hot all season, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they were right on it again. It's closest track to home for Colin Turkington. If you remember last year, he got a win there. Jake Hill got a win. It would have been 2 if it wasn't for a sensor failure. Jake also won in 2022, and if you remember that epic battle in 2021 when he was in the MB Motorbase Ford, I'm sure it's the car that Dan Rowbottom drives. I'll have to check that out and put the info down. Who's driving that chassis now? In 2021, he won their fantastic battle with Dan Lloyd. But yeah, BMWs are in there, and the outsider that I think you have to look at is Power Max Racing. Now, since that mid-season tests last year where they picked something up, they've been on it, and if a team deserved to win a race, Power Max are that team who've deserved to win one in the last year and a half. But this is top-level touring car racing. You don't get something by deserving, you've got to go out and do it. Last year at Silverstone, they put Mikey Doble on pole and Aaron Taylor-Smith. He nearly had that race to win that Ash got from the back up until it was a lap and a half left, I think it was, when Ash got past. So close to win, and they've been on form since. So, by that reckoning, they've got a decent amount of hybrid. Full whack for Doble. Does Aaron have... Well, he's 7th in the championship. I can't remember how it's sorted out for someone 7th. But that race 1 and qualifying, I think they're the people to look out for. As far as the championship itself goes, spoke to some of the drivers involved about how they would like to finish Silverstone and head into Brands Hatch, because the question I asked was, if it's tight going into Brands Hatch, say 5 points between the top 3, do you want to go into Brands Hatch leading the championship if there's only a couple of points? Because obviously hybrid allocation for race 1 and qualifying there could be important as well. And they all said the same thing. I'd like to be leading by 15 points. Nobody can entertain the idea of going in, and I don't blame them, and I thoroughly understand that. You're not going to go into the couple of rounds left and say, well, if I go here with that, you've got to go forward and maximise what you can and hope that other people have a bit of a mess. So that's Silverstone. Now, that's Sunday for me. They'll be staying down there, but on Saturday I'm driving down to Thruxton, which is a 6-hour drive. TCR UK is on there. Just got to jump in with an advert. The latest edition of Touring Car magazine is out now. You can pre-order it in print if you're very quick. If not, it's available. It's just over £1.10, 50-odd pages of touring car goodness in PDF form. We've got a great piece with Rob Huff, Tom Ingram and Tom Chilton about that race 3 at Knockhill, which was one of the best touring car races in years. Scott Sumpton talks to us about his development through the season, how he's having to get his elbows out a bit more now that he's learning the trade, and about how at Knockhill, especially under compression, a British touring car, actually compared to a TCR car, drives like a bloody forklift truck. We've got full in-depth coverage of the last 2 rounds of the championship with details in there that you won't find anywhere else. as far as TCR goes, there's another piece about officiating and about the controversial clash between Carl Bordley and Adam Shepherd, but it's not so much about that, it's more about the officiating process, some of the other things that went off in the stewards' room over the weekend and how it was a bit shocking the way things came out. Speak with Brad Hutchison about getting that second win and getting into the championship contention. Darren Lewis's championship season, how he's gone from this time last year having left the series, being at the back of the grid in an Audi that wasn't performing very well, and how this year he's been getting podiums. It's really interesting to look at things. Is there anything else in there? Oh yeah, I know photographer Steve from Meet My Pixels. He's one of the photographers who actually caught Andrew Watson's accident, and he shot some of the rebuild for us. So there's a little bit about tyre stacks and a little bit about how, yeah, you have a read and you'll find out instead of telling us. Like I said, £10 if you're in Britain. Come on, man. Best touring car coverage in the country. Of course, the problem with TCR UK, a lot of people say there's only 12 cars racing. And yes, there is only 12, but there is reasons between it. From what we're hearing, there's going to be quite a sized grid, almost Btcc sized grid for the finale at Silverstone. There is rumours of 16, 17, maybe even 18 cars, but there's only 12 this weekend. There's two reasons that it seems that why it's gone that way. One is tyres, two is it's an intimidating track. The thing with the tyres is all the teams have to buy a set of, I think it's at least 6 hard tyres because they're going to run the British Touring Car hard tyres, whereas the other rounds they are on the British Touring Car mediums. And like Btcc, at that track with the abrasiveness of the circuit and the high speeds involved, they're going to have to go with the hards. Now, at 300 and odd quid a boot, you're talking a couple of grand. From what I'm told, if it rains, for example, and you use wet tyres, unused hards will be able to return to be swapped for mediums for the last round. But it put some people off earlier on in the year. It does look like we might get some wetness there, but I think them cars are going to be pretty spectacular around Thruxton. And Thruxton's fast, which has knocked one or two people from the. I have spoken to a few people through the season about Thruxton who have been in TCR, have looked at TCR and said, will you do Thruxton? Said, no, too fast. And these are expensive bits of kit, you know. It's 3 days around the fastest track in the country. As for the Friday, actually, I mean, I think a couple of the teams, I know I spoke to Carl Bordley, a couple of issues on Thruxton, and as he said, Friday testing, you spend a little bit of money on getting some 5 or 6 lap old tyres from Btcc teams to run in testing, because there'll be, I think, 3 half-hour test sessions, and if the tyre's got a couple of laps on it, and most of the teams have got spares, most of the TCR teams are buying them to run, I think it's great. Some of the grid have never raced here and that are going to be racing at the weekend, and these are fast cars. One person who obviously has, with 2 people who've raced there in British Touring Cars are Carl Bordley and Rick Kerry. And I spoke to Bordley about racing around there, and obviously in Btcc the last few years there, rear-wheel drive Beamer, rear-wheel drive Infinity. But he did go around in 2019 in the front-wheel drive Volkswagen Passat, or VWCC, with Team Hard. And he said that was an interesting experience because the car was driving you were just holding on. And that was probably, I think, more the car than it being a front-wheel drive car, because it was a bit knackered by that point, wasn't it? They got a year out of it extra, the team, but that was one track where it was really supposedly a bit scary. Again, title battles coming into things. It's a 4-way title battle now. It was looking like 3-way with, that sounds a bit, no, I'll say it another way. There's 3 people challenging for the title, it seemed like. Carl Bordley, Adam Shepherd and Carl Newsham, but Brad Hutchison's coming in strong there as well. It's just full of innuendos, isn't it? Sorry, I'll try and be sensible and nice about it from this point onwards. You know, for journalists, it should be happy times, because we've got a little bit of a contentious championship battle. Eusham's in a car that's absolutely on it. Hutchison, considering he came from minus points at the start of the season, is caught on the back of it, and with the form he's carrying at the back end of the season, you can't rule any of them out. All I can hope for is that there isn't abysmal officiating again, because the rounds at Oulton Park, Croft and Silverstone, I have written extensively about them in the last 2 issues of Touring Car magazine. You know, I've written a lot about all of these punishments. I haven't written so much about who did what to whom, where, when and why. It's been more about how has it been adjudicated. And there's been a lot of decisions made that have been rescinded after being sent off to the stewards on appeal, being changed. Some people have committed the same offences and got different punishments. Some evidence hasn't been taken into consideration, things like that. We just want a clean weekend. That's what we want. Clean, sensible racing, clean, sensible officiating. The thing is with all the drivers is, I think it's the cars have got the speed, have they got the knowledge? And once they have got the knowledge, it's about confidence. It's a confidence track. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works out for that. But that's not the only thing that's on at Thruxton this weekend. And I'm going to be trackside for this as well. There's going to be the usual TCR supports, which is Audi TT Cup, the Fiesta Juniors and the Fiestas, and the Civic Cup. You got to watch the Civic Cup. It's absolutely outstanding racing. I think in terms of racing entertainment as a support bill, TCR support this year has been better than Btcc's. It's great racing. You got to watch it. But that's not why we're there. That's not what makes it the ultimate touring car weekender, because there's classic touring car racing club. They've got 8 championships, which are bundled into 4 grids, so 4 sets of races. There's the pre-66 and pre-83 are going to run together. Now, come on. Rover SD1, Minis, Lotus Cortinas. I mean, you've seen Minis around Thruxton, what it's like. So those 60s, 70s and 80s cars, especially when they're coming braking for the club chicane, it's going to be, that's going to be worth watching. And there's the pre-03 cars with the Super Tourers. Now, from what I understand so far, what I've been told, there is 6 cars in the Super Touring class, but they're not all Super Tourers. Their Super Touring regulations include Super Tourers and Btcc cars. So I think we've got a Cavalier, a Vectra and a Honda Accord. It's manna from heaven, and I'm there for that because I'm working on something related to Super Tourers. But I can't let you in on that at the moment. There's going to be a trackside vlog. I think it'll be the best of the year, so look out for that. I will be busy. The last couple of rounds, I know I've only got 500 and odd subscribers, but the last few rounds at Croft, Knockhill and Donington, I've had some of you guys come up and talk to us, and I'm really appreciative of that, because we've got better things to do with your life. You just could subscribe to Netflix instead of watching this shite on here with me. But if you do see us, and I haven't got time to speak, I'm sorry, because it's going to be really busy. You got my permission just to tell us to fuck off. Anyway, see you there. Bye-bye for now.